Good afternoon, this is Dyer Kennedy with Divergence Analysis. Today I wanted to go over trading Forex with DVAN SmartLines on NinjaTrader. All these charts were made last Thursday, April 23rd. Today is Monday, April 27th. So let's dive right into it. First I have a chart of the pound dollar on a 5-minute basis. As I mentioned, these are all charts from Thursday, April 23rd, the morning session leading into the close in Europe. Good time to trade the Forex markets. Recently we've been focusing on using the short-term trend indicator, which is the middle indicator here with the green and red histogram, to confirm trades given with the other indicators that we have provided in the DVAN SmartLines package. What we want to see is all of the indications that we normally look for, which would be red price bars in the case of a short, green in the case of a long, a cross of DVAN signals that will also plot an arrow, a corresponding arrow here and here, as you see in the case of a short and a long. Price above or below the pivot line. The pivot line is the gray dotted line. That's the price point at which the trend line, this light blue line, will turn up or down. And we also want to see the short-term trend histogram, either red in the case of a short or green in the case of a long. We've added in the last few weeks of our videos a filter that also uses the short-term trend, but the leading line, this blue line, which is showing the shorter term, quicker force within that short-term trend, we want to see that in the same direction and cross through zero as the indication with the other indicators. So in this case, to clarify, we have a short indication with all of our indicators. We'll use the final confirmation of the leading line breaking through zero and down, which it is in this case, breaking up through zero and sloped up, which is in this case of a long. Let me show you exactly with arrows what we're talking about. This is the short indication given by a red arrow, DVAN signals crossing below, red histogram, red price bars, and we see this blue line, the leading line in the short-term trend, also confirming that trade. Conversely, on the upside, we see the same thing happening a little bit after 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then over here, when we get another cross, this is going into the close of Europe, things start consolidating, and you can see that while some signals are given that we may experience some weakness, we're not seeing the leading line confirm with force below the 0 point, meaning immediate weak force coming into the market. We're seeing consolidation. It stays above that line. It doesn't converge with all of the other indications given, so we'll stay out of this trade. So that allows us to enter a nice short trade and a nice long trade while staying out of consolidation. One other thing to watch for is a convergence of the smart lines, which are the three lines here. The convergence of these lines shows buying and selling cycles. So in the case where the lines converge and the trend line, the light blue line, moves down below the red stop line, you're entering into a selling cycle. When the trend line's up above the red stop line, you're entering into a buying cycle. So this shows a nice selling cycle and a nice buying cycle. What you don't see is that happening here. So this serves as further confirmation, if you're watching this potential trade play out, that you're not getting a leading line cross below zero in the short-term trend, and you're also not seeing ultimately the smart lines converge. This is just signaling that we're in consolidation and this buying cycle is going to continue. Now we're in the Aussie dollar, and just wanted to show a few more examples of the same thing. At 9 a.m. Eastern time, you get a confirmation of a long trade. The short-term trend has just turned green. The leading line is up. You see a confluence of the buying cycle with the smart lines converging here, green price bars, and you get a green arrow. You also get that here, so there's some consolidation, and if you were to get out when this price bar turned red, or if you were to get out for one reason or another, This is a good place to know that you're re-entering. If you were to be able to stay in this trade because it's mostly flat, this is a good point to know that you're confirmed in your indication that the market will be going up, that the Aussie dollar will be going up. What you don't see is here any sort of confluence of the smart lines, and we also don't see the leading line moving down below zero to indicate a short trade. Note that we would only be looking for a short trade because the histogram is red here. So when we see an accumulation of arrows, this means that our indicator is oscillating around its baseline and it's mostly consolidation. Because this is red, we would only be looking to the short side, but because we don't see the leading line break through zero on the short-term trend, and we ultimately don't see a convergence of the smart lines, this is a trade that we would stay out of. Lastly, I have the dollar franc, Swiss franc, and I wanted to show a few examples from the same day. This long trade is not confirmed. It's close, but the short-term trend is red at this point. Everything else would be signaling along except that. So we want to confirm our trades with confluence of all the indicators. In this case, they don't confirm, so we would stay out of that trade. We would also stay out of this long trade. It looks like it may be bottoming. What we want to note is the leading indicator in the short-term trend is not broken up through zero. And we're also seeing at this point the smart lines are still quite far away. We're not seeing an imminent convergence into a buy cycle. The trade that is confirmed, and that obviously is the one we want to be in though, is this short trade right after 10 a.m. in the dollar franc. We see all of the indications that we're looking for and confirmations. Red price bar below the pivot. In this case, the smart lines have already converged into a sell cycle. The short-term trend is down, and the leading line in the short-term trend is sloped down and below zero. One thing to note, if you're watching this, if you get short here, watching this very mild bounce, mostly consolidation, once you see the smart lines push back away from each other, this red line and this light blue line push back away from each other, it's signaling a continuation or an expansion of that current cycle, in this case being a sell cycle, into a nice down move. These are highlighting the convergences and the lack of convergence that would ultimately confirm staying out of this long trade because it's consolidation and entering this short trade because it's a true sell cycle. Hopefully that helped. Once again, this is Dyer from DVAN SmartLines and Divergence Analysis. If you have any questions, please email info@divergenceanalysis.com and we'd love to talk to you. Thank you.